Let's get cozy, let's get snuggly. It's time for a bedtime story.
Let's plop in. Hello, and welcome back to the Potty Mouth Show.
Today, Blake and I are getting cozy and we're getting snuggly and time to read a bedtime story.
In a segment we like to call Between the Sheets.
Welcome back to Between the Sheets. What we have in front of us today is a bedtime story that was written by our producers. We have no idea what is in this story. It is completely made up, and we are going to read it firsthand, cold read. We haven't seen this before, so let's get into it.
Let's plop in.
I guess I'm reading to you, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, come here, buddy.
Hi.
It's time for story time. All
Hi.
right. Are you ready for a story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Tiny the bear is one of 7 kids in his family. He wasn't born first, and he wasn't born last. He was born smack in the middle of the pack, and being the middle child is bullshit. Two of his older Blake.
Sorry.
2 of his older brothers are hunters who provide the food for the family. His randomly adopted pig of an older sister, Pork Chop, is also a hunter of sorts. If you count using her feminine hindquarters to lure other wild boar into her brother's traps, his 3 younger siblings search for honey and berries. After raising 3 kids to hunt, Mama Bear decided that her kids need more of a balanced diet, so she encouraged the youngins to gather.
Squeak.
But Tiny was big, very big. So big he couldn't even climb trees, and he couldn't run fast. He also wasn't very graceful, so he would destroy anything that came into contact with him. He also recently had fleas. Aw, poor Tiny. With all the scratching, he is losing hair on his rear. Essentially, he was a good-for-nothing, freeloading middle child, which is bullshit.
Wow.
One day, he decided that he'd had enough. He didn't want to sit around doing nothing with his life and being the butt of the family jokes. If he was going to have everyone always doing things for him, he was at least going to have fun with his time. So he sat back to think about how he could occupy his time. He thought and he thought, when he came to the conclusion that he had never done anything at all to completion. He slumped down to his stomach, discouraged.
Slump.
Barry the Blue Jay, flying overhead, saw Tiny and swooped in to help. Tiny, is everything okay? Oh, hi, Blueberry. Everything is fine. I know I will never be a helpful member of the family, but I'm trying to find something to do with my day so at least my family doesn't see me just sitting at home all of the time. I'd kind of like them to forget I'm a bear bum with a bare bum. I can teach you to braid vines. Blueberry, why do you know how to braid vines? Asked Tiny. It's step 1 of master plan to get the heck out of here. The lazy way. Said Tiny. I like the sound of that. Tell me more. Are you saying you actually want to leave? I could use a paddle partner. If you can be patient and follow my steps one at a time, I will walk you through how we can get out of here. So Tiny and Blueberry wove some vines. I don't know why Blueberry is southern all of a sudden.
That's what I was wondering. He's from Tennessee.
Then they sawed some trees. They gathered some coconuts. As they sat there and strung the thin tree trunks together, Tiny felt a sense of accomplishment that he had never felt before. Why, he'd gathered some food for the journey and constructed a boat all in a matter of 2 days. While this feeling of satisfaction should have been enough to show him he's not a total loser, it was not, however. And the reasons are twofold. Because Tiny is stupid, and the story just started.
Oh, jeez.
So Tiny and Blueberry head out to sea in their newly constructed raft. They have only been out on their adventure for 20 minutes when they happen upon a flock of seagulls. Now, seagulls are notoriously selfish. Compare them to vultures. Except vultures like the dry, hot climates, and seagulls like it wet.
Mine.
Anyway, the seagulls became very interested in the raft when they saw the stash of coconuts. All that could be heard was a constant barrage of mine. Wait. Blake?
Huh?
Mine.
Mine.
Right before a swarm of them swooped down and started pecking Tiny on the head. It was such chaos that Tiny didn't even notice that Blueberry had been knocked unconscious and slid right off the edge of the raft. Tiny was finally able to see through the explosion of feathers and catch a glimpse right as his friend's stunned face slipped underwater. To hell with the coconuts. He needed to save his friend. He dove in head first and was able to catch Barry before he sunk too deep. Back up to the surface they headed, just in time for Tiny to feel a heavy, wet turd land square on his head. It didn't matter, though. The raft was getting away. He could see that there were no more coconuts left on board, which was unfortunate. He couldn't see land either. He decided that he would have to just get them back up on the raft and wait for Barry to wake up so he could find their new heading. But he waited for 6 hours. Tiny waited, but Barry didn't wake up. As they continued to drift aimlessly, Tiny was starting to get hungry. He figured Barry could have found them a place to get more food by now, but it didn't seem like their operation wasn't going to get its brains back on the way anytime soon. Tiny decided they needed food, and they needed it now. He plunged his big bare head into the water and was ecstatic to find a school of fish swimming his way. He dove in and caught a few, throwing them back up into the coconut basket where baskets he'd woven with Blueberry. When they had about a week's worth of fish, Tiny crawled back on board. He struggled a bit, and Barry almost fell overboard again, but eventually Tiny was back on his way. A few hours later, it was starting to get cold outside. Tiny was used to his fur keeping him warm on even the chilliest of nights, but he wasn't used to the coolest sea breeze on his bare bum. As soon as he watched the sun go down, he heard a whale sound in the distance. At least he thought it was a whale. Whales don't really get close to shore at home. He'd heard tales that whales were dangerous. That's why they were called killer whales. Well, Tiny said to himself, I'm glad that doesn't sound very close, but he was wrong. Not long after, he was startled by a cool blast of water as it rained down on the raft and jumped when he noticed a giant eye peeking at him. Not really knowing what to do, he introduced himself. Hi, I'm Tiny the bear. I'm probably actually tiny compared to you. What did you say to me? The whale responded defensively. I said I'm Tiny the bear. And you said you're tiny compared to me? No, I didn't mean that. Look, I've always had to explain my name to other animals in the forest because my name's Tiny and, well, I'm not tiny. Because I was the last baby my mom was supposed to bear. Not to mention the irony that I was born bigger than my sister Porkchop will ever get. And my mom is sarcastic in nature, so she named me Tiny, even though I'm the biggest son and... But you're small compared to me. No, well, yeah, but I mean, no offense by it. I'm just saying that I'm nervous, and I always been warned about killer whales, and I don't want to die. Honey, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not even a killer whale. I'm a beluga. Oh, what? A beluga. We are all whales that make people happy. I don't know why this beluga's black, but it's cool. That's why they named us beluga. The name just puts a smile on our face. Did you think all whales were killer whales? Well, yeah, but I'm not from around here, and you're a very nice whale, especially for one that I insulted. It's in our nature, sugar. It's in my nature to stay warm in any climate, but it's not really working out for me right now. Oh, are you cold? We whales have thick layers of fat to keep us warm. If you want, you guys can curl up on me and stay warm until the sun comes back around. I'm Terry, by the way. So Tiny and Barry spent the evening sleeping on a beluga whale named Terry. The next morning, the sun came up bright and shiny. Tiny bid a whale adieu, and they were back on their adventure. Tiny was really starting to get worried about Barry not waking up. He still hasn't woken up. He had been out almost a whole day, and Tiny had absolutely no idea where to go next. Right as he was about to panic, a sea turtle came swimming by. What kind of creature are you supposed to be? Asked the turtle. I'm a bear, said Tiny. What are you? I'm a turtle, a real world traveler named Larry. And I've been all over the world, but I've never seen or heard of a bear. And what kind of dead creature you have with you? Oh, well, this is Blueberry. He just got conked real good on the head by some seagulls. You sure he ain't dead? I hope he's not dead.
Is he okay?
I don't know. Let's find out, Blake. I don't really know where to go without him navigating. I kind of wish I could just go home. I'm really out of place at sea. No kidding, said the turtle. Any chance you can guide me back to land, Mr. World Traveler? I'll do you one better. I'll escort you back. I'm curious to see where a creature like you comes from. I thought I'd seen it all. All it will cost you is a story over everywhere you've been and what you've seen on this crazy boat trip of yours. Okay, what's a boat? So Larry the turtle towed them back to land. They actually hadn't ventured that far from land at all. They were back on the shore in an hour. All of a sudden, out of the brush ran 6 bears and a wild boar. They had all been so worried by Tiny's disappearance and had no idea where he went. In all the commotion, Blueberry sits up, groaning and lethargic, looking confused. Mom, brothers, and sisters, Barry, I want you to meet my friend Larry. He found our raft and towed us back. He proceeded to recount his entire journey to his family. Hey, look, he's not dead.
He's alive!
He is alive.
He's okay!
Yeah, let's see how it ends.
Okay.
I don't know where I'd be, though, if I hadn't found Larry. Well, Tiny, said Larry, to me it sounds like you spent 2 whole days building and stocking a raft from scratch. Rescued your friend from a flock of angry scavenging seagulls. Caught your own fish when you ran out of food. Met a whale and convinced him to let you sleep on his blubber. Well, convinced you to let him sleep on his blubber when you were worried about getting cold overnight. Made friends with a world traveler and negotiated a safe return home. It sounds like you learned a lot and had a very fulfilling adventure. You're right, said Tiny. I can do amazing things. And from then on out, Tiny was responsible for bringing the family fish and making home repairs. Their home was a much nicer place to be with Tiny around. The resourceful and brave bear. After all, he had met a killer whale. So the story goes. And that has been Between the Sheets and the story of Tiny Out to Sea.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Thank you for liking and subscribing.
We'll see you guys next time on the Potty Mouth Show.